The old saying goes, under-promise and over-deliver. If only Hello Games lived by this mantra. The pre-release promises for No Man's Sky were quite ambitious, so when it launched at half-mast, fans revolted. But the indie studio previously known for Joe Danger didn't panic. Instead, it stayed the course and began methodically improving it until it finally included all those promises and then some. But what is this open-ended, planet-jumping space adventure like for someone jumping in 5 years later? It joined Game Pass in May of 2020, and it's not leaving that galaxy anytime soon. It's time to find out if No Man's Sky is a game pass or a game fail. As you might expect from a game that's been gradually improved for half a decade, No Man's Sky feels like multiple games in one, and not always in a good way. The opening hour drops you on an unknown planet where you learn the survival mechanics and basic gameplay loop. You must gather resources and craft tools to survive. The survival aspects of No Man's Sky are its weak point. Gathering basic resources gets old fast when a computer is constantly complaining about hazard protection.
Thermal protection falling.
The good news is that by the time you find your ship and leave the first planet, you never really have to worry about it ever again. It's just a continual nuisance. It's not off to a great start.
Technology recharge.
When you reach the second planet, the scope expands immensely, and prioritizing your tasks can be a challenge. The base building takes center stage, but the primary goal is to build a teleporter to a station out in space. After that, base building feels superfluous. Resource markers appear all over the surface of the planet, but it's not clear which ones to prioritize. You can scan everything and upload it to a server, but the reward is currency, and there's no place to spend it. Should you stay and try and clean out the planet, or proceed to a new solar system to follow a mysterious main objective? It's not clear. We choose to follow the main objective, and two big events put things into focus. The first is finding a new ship and building it out. It requires a ton of investment to realize its potential, but it gives you something tangible to invest all the resources into. Next is the appearance of the anomaly. It seems grafted onto the game, but it provides meaning to most of its systems. Each part of your equipment gets a massive research tree that, again, provides some purpose to the resource gathering. Eventually, the inhabitants start to share more goals to achieve and provide a roadmap towards endless hours of dedication. It takes a long time to get to this point, and then the multiplayer elements are finally introduced. One part of No Man's Sky that always works is the exploration. Going to new planets and finding something new never gets old. The sense of discovery and wonder is what truly propels you through the game. The randomly generated creatures are both alien and odd, but it's hard to project if it's enough to sustain us through dozens of hours of play. Along the way, you can learn an alien language, but much of the game feels like it's been protracted to force players to sink as much time into it as possible. While No Man's Sky is a survival game and there are plenty of them on Game Pass, there's a reason it was so heralded in the lead up to launch. Few have the same scale, freedom, or depth. Despite launching half-broken, at this point it has a lot more polish than games like Ark Survival Evolved or We Happy Few. Its scale also dwarfs most other comps on the service, and there aren't many entries that will take you into the far reaches of space. Star Wars Squadrons is a great dogfighting game, but it's almost entirely combat-driven. Deliver Us the Moon has a great narrative, but it's closer to a walking simulator than a true survival game. Elite Dangerous is by far the closest comp. It's a spaceship sim that's just about to include on-foot play, but as of now, it's only on Game Pass for consoles. It's got a long way to go to catch up with No Man's Sky. Now it's time to find out, is No Man's Sky a game pass or a game fail? This has been one of the most enlightening games we've played for this series, and we can see why No Man's Sky has continued to expand its fan base despite its rocky launch. There's just nothing else like it. It combines a passable survival system with an immersive galaxy to explore. From there, it just keeps piling on the options like starfighting, multiplayer options, farming, and so much more. There's a ton of game here, and most of it is interesting. Its grand scope is what makes it so great, but also what gives us pause. What if we sink 100 hours into No Man's Sky and it's removed from Game Pass? It's a huge commitment with no assurances that it won't just be taken away any given month. Of course, you can buy the game outright at that point, but then it feels like bait and switch. Regardless, we've already squeezed hours and hours of play from it, so if it does eventually take its leave, we'll know whether it's worth the cash. It's a fascinating game that doesn't give up its rewards easily, but if you need a new time sink, it's an easy choice. No Man's Sky gets a Game Pass. For next week, since EA Play has finally come to Game Pass for PC, we're going to take a pick from that portion of the library, and the randomizer selects Battlefield 4.